anything high quality be bought from a dollar store?
Anything of high quality.
So, Ryan, here's what I want to talk to you about. So, I think we're maybe asking the wrong question here.
Yeah.
I don't mean morally wrong. I mean the wrong question in the sense of like, can it be healthy to eat poop? The answer to that is actually yes. There's something called FMTs, fecal transplants, right?
Yeah, right.
If you have problems with your gut microbiome and your small intestine, or especially in your colon, your large intestine, then there are ways to reseed your gut microbiome by either doing a suppository of feces or swallowing feces.
Yeah.
And so, but most of us aren't going to say, should I eat poop today?
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Now, why am I comparing a dollar store to poop? Well, here's another.
I think it's pretty clear.
Here's another article for you, Ryan. It's called 5 Environmental and Ethical Costs of Shopping at Dollar Stores. When you buy something at a dollar store, you'll likely walk out having spent less than you would have elsewhere. You may have saved money, but you certainly won't be saving anything else because you're popping up on seemingly every corner, or because they are popping up on seemingly every corner. It's not hard to drop in for a quick, cheap purchase. But unfortunately, we've come up with 5 environmental and ethical costs of shopping at dollar stores that aren't listed on the price tag. So, what are dollar stores? First off, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, and Dollar General are some of the big names in the world of dollar stores. Their main business ethos is pretty easy to understand: provide customers with convenience and affordability. And I'll even say this, Ryan, that these cheap goods, they benefit both the consumer and the corporation, at least ostensibly.
Right.
And in the very short term.
Yes.
Because I can save some money on a cheap widget that is probably going to break very soon.
Right.
Now, the question is, did I need that cheap widget in the first place? And are there quality items in some of these dollars? Sure, I'm sure some things in the dollar store are of some quality, and they may last a while.
Yeah.
But the truth is, that we're going to see in this article is that there is a whole lot of other costs outside of that dollar.
Yeah.
And we want to be careful with how we're spending our time and what else we're doing to the planet here. So it says that these dollar stores are taking most of our cities by storm. In fact, as America's neighborhood general store, Dollar General now has more than 17,000 locations in 46 states. They're offering everything: beauty and health supplies, food and snacks, cleaning supplies, apparel, seasonal items, paper products, and housewares. They offer many of the same brands and products at other stores like drugstores and grocery stores, but they do so at a cheaper price. And I'll say this, an ostensibly cheaper price.
Right.
Because as we'll learn here, it's not always cheaper.
Yeah, there are other costs associated. You know what's interesting about that, though? Like, a lot of brands start out in the dollar store. So, like, for example, Axe body spray, that was a cheapo $1 thing at the dollar store. And then it started to get popular. So now they're like, oh, now we can charge more for this and put it in, in the more expensive stores.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Mrs. Meyer's. That was a dollar store brand soap. Now it's like, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit in the Maximal, but it's a greenwashing type company.
Yeah.
That looks healthy. It looks like it's good for you. Not a lot of chemicals. And yeah, they charge you with that in mind. They upcharge you. But it's interesting. Mariah has just a sensitivity to stuff. So she's got this app. You could look up different brands and it'll tell you on a scale of like 1 to 5 or something about like how toxic it is. And
Mariah, do you remember the name of that app? EWG. That's where I check my tap water as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Mrs. Meyer's actually is, what is it? Like a 3 or a 4?
4 out of 10? Okay.
Yeah, 4 to 5 out of 10. So again, like the greenwashing, they make it look super healthy, but you actually look at what's in it, and
it may not be as healthy as it purports to be.
Yeah.
So here are 5 ways that here are the 5 environmental and ethical costs of shopping at dollar stores. I'll say that one more time here. Here are the environmental and ethical costs, 5 of them, for shopping at dollar stores. Number 1, dollar stores hurt local economies. So
Mm.
that's a big thing that we rarely think about,
Yeah.
and it's not just dollar stores, it's Amazon, Walmart, etc. I remember when Ryan, we were kids and Walmart came to town in 88.
Oh my God.
And it just decimated
Yes.
the little sort of local downtown areas, right?
Yep.
And I remember in Middletown, Ohio in particular, you go down, that whole downtown there is now, it's like one of the most tragic areas. It looks a lot like East St. Louis or something.
Yeah, it's wild.
And now there is a revitalization effort going on down there but it was far enough away where all these big box stores opened up and killed the local economy.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about where Bex and I just moved up in Ventura County, I'm not going to talk about the city just yet. We're going to reveal that on a future episode. Talk about the local community. But one thing I'll tell you is there are no big chain stores anywhere. In fact, you have to drive like 30 minutes away to get to like a CVS or a Walgreens. But there are. What that does, it forces me to support the local caring businesses. And if I don't like one of the pharmacies, there's like 2 other pharmacies, right? And so you get to know the people. I met the local butcher there recently and bought some local grass-fed, grass-finished beef and liver and heart and bone marrow right there in my neighborhood, supporting the local economy. And one thing that we don't realize when we go to a dollar store or a Walmart or somewhere else is we aren't supporting people locally per se. Now, of course, local workers potentially, but we're not supporting local business owners. And most of that money, if you go to one of these giant multinational corporations, most of that money is not going back in to your local community.
Yeah.
Number 2, dollar stores are associated with negative health incomes. Even if a resident doesn't score a job there, at first glance, the opening of a dollar store in a food desert might come across as a good thing. Yeah, I would agree with that. In fact, before we opened the grocery store, the nonprofit grocery co-op in Dayton, that's where a lot of people bought their food.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, what most of that food is processed junk.
Yeah.
Seed oils and all these preservatives, packaged foods. And so it's perpetuating dis-ease in the local community.
Yeah.
Number 3 is dollar stores arguably aren't even that cheap. While they sell in smaller quantities that have extremely affordable price tags for many items, particularly food items, the price per weight is comparable or even more expensive than it might be elsewhere. Washington Post did an analysis, found that a dollar bottle of milk at a dollar store equated to $8 for a full gallon.
Oh, wow.
So you're actually paying more. Thank goodness I don't have to fill my car up with dollar store milk.
Right. I don't know. It's pretty daggone close here in LA.
Yeah, that's true. Number 4, dollar stores use a lot of packaging and a lot of toxic products. Because a dollar store is able to shrink nearly any product and turn it into a cheap alternative that actually is more expensive than it would be if purchased in its full normal size, they use significantly more packaging than other companies. So I think that's something to think about. When you're buying these individually packaged things, you're producing more waste inadvertently.
Yeah.
And number 5, Ryan, dollar stores equal environmental injustice. This brings us to a problem our country is facing, and dollar stores like these certainly play a role in environmental justice issues. The individuals who see the bright yellow DG sign down the street and who rely on it for many of their essentials are likely choosing between food and rent and struggling to meet their basic needs.
Right.
I think that's true. When you see a lot of these dollar stores, they're popping up in neighborhoods without grocery stores, right? Yeah. And quite often they are preying on low income people. And so while the prices appear to be cheaper, it's just like if I were to sell you cigarettes individually, Ryan, it's going to appear to be cheaper. I'm doing 2 things here. I'm actually charging you more as opposed to buying a whole pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also selling you cigarettes.
Right.
Which are harmful to those communities in particular, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the communities where you and I grew up were really poor. And we didn't have access to a local grocery store real close to where we were. And yet we had access to an equivalent of a dollar store, right?
Yeah.
A sort of convenience store with Cheetos and liquor and a lot of things that are unhealthy for us without the alternatives to the unhealthy things.
Yeah. Man, it's such a hard, because like I feel like I need to throw the caveat in here of like, this isn't trying to make anyone feel bad for shopping at the dollar store or like any judgment, but it is what it is. And it's an important thing to note that like, yeah, some of these folks shopping, they have to choose between rent and other and food. And man, I would dare say like there's a certain percentage of people that maybe that dollar store is the only option they have with the income that they have.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I would also add on to that understanding, like when you and I were growing up and we didn't have much money, that very little bit of money that we did have, we misspent it quite often on things we didn't need.
Absolutely.
Now, food we obviously need. And the question is, do I have access to healthy food, and can I do it in a budget-friendly way? And the answer to that is certainly yes. We have to be intentional about that.
We did a podcast on that, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalist Private Podcast, available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.